welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing a what we eat in a week type video. So I'm going to show you guys 5 different meals that I made for my family this week. Some of them are for lunch and some of them are for dinner. But on this particular day, I am making some homemade chicken noodle soup. And so to start off, I'm getting my sourdough noodles going. I recently got a KitchenAid mixer and we got the noodle attachment. I say we because this was something that my daughter has wanted for a very long time. And since having this, she's already made noodles several times. And so today I'm getting some noodles made up to make some chicken noodle soup. Now at the beginning of this meal you saw that I was working with my Instapot and I was getting some broth started for this. I love making homemade bone broth in my Instapot. It's just the easiest way for me to do it. And I found a way to make it gel up every single time. I actually have the recipe for my bone broth on my blog, so I can link that for you guys down below, or you can go to ourearlyhouse.com and search in the search bar for bone broth and the recipe will pop up. The next thing I'm doing here is I am getting some butter melted in my Dutch oven. I'm going to saute some garlic and then I'm going to add in all of my veggies. I chopped up some onions, celery, and carrots. The key to a really good soup is adding in a bunch of different seasonings. So I'm adding in some Italian seasonings, oregano, basil. I'm also doing salt and pepper and some parsley. Homemade noodles are actually very easy to make. They're a little bit time consuming, but the actual recipe is just so basic. And I love that it's just simple ingredients and I know exactly what is in them. And honestly, they taste so much better than any type of noodle. If you ever have made homemade noodles, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take the extra step here and make some noodles. And I also decided that I would make a double batch of dough, and so I made a bunch of extra noodles, and then once they were all dry I just put them into a bag and freeze them, and then they will be ready to pull out and boil or to stick into a soup or stew later on. Once my vegetables were all sauteed, I added in some chicken and then I'm pouring my broth over top of this. I had plenty of extra broth to store in a little mason jar. Again, I can put that in the refrigerator to save for a later date. And when this was about done, I added my noodles in for the last 5 minutes to let them cook up, and then this soup was ready to go. this evening we have a few things going on. So I actually made this during nap time and let it just simmer on the stove. And then when we got home, we had a nice hot meal ready to go. For this next meal, I am making a staple for us that we eat all the time in the winter, and that is just a very simple potato soup. We all love potato soup, and like I said, I really try to get as much bone broth into my family's diet as I can in the winter seasons. It's so nourishing, it's really good for the immune system, and so as much as we can eat it, I try to put it in our diet. So we eat a lot of soup in the wintertime. And also, if you notice the clock, I am cooking a lot of these meals during my kids' afternoon naps, and I find that soup is one of the best meals to make ahead and let it just simmer on the stove. It gets better the longer it simmers. And then in the evening, if we have any plans, when we get back home, and it might be right at dinner time, I have something ready to go. So I oftentimes fall back on soups during the winter months. For this, I am just dicing up a bunch of potatoes and onions that I will cook up in some more homemade broth, and then I will fry up some bacon and shred up some cheese to top the soup with. I think it's so good with bacon, sour cream, and cheese. And then anytime I am frying bacon, I always save the bacon grease. We get all of our bacon from my sister's hog farm, and so it's a really good source of protein, and so I try to save all of the grease to use in dishes later on. Like I'll fry eggs in it or use it just as a fat in a different recipe whenever I need it. During the winter, we naturally spend more time indoors, with it being so cold outside and getting dark so much earlier in the evening. I really like to take this time to really hone in and focus on our core school subjects. One thing that really helps us to stay on track with this is IXL, and that happens to be the sponsor of today's video. IXL is a pre-K through 12th grade online learning program that focuses on core subjects. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies while adapting to each child, meeting them where they are. Plus, IXL encourages students to be curious and empowers them to choose how to learn. With multiple kids in school, IXL is extremely helpful for a parent because it helps my children to work independently. I love IXL because it truly sets your child up for success in school and allows them to quickly brush up on a topic that they need help with. My favorite part about IXL is that no matter your child's learning style or knowledge level, they have built-in tools like video tutorials, learning games, and practice questions. The questions really help my children learn with example and are built for audio and visual learners, which this is really great for me because I have children that learn in both ways, and some just audio, some just visual. So IXL works for all of them because it truly does both. My kids beg to do IXL, and so I love that it is something that I don't have to make them do. Rather, they come to me and ask if they can do it. So I know that it's really keeping their attention and it's helping them to learn and have fun at the same time. IXL is offering Hourly House viewers an exclusive 25% discount when you sign up for your first month or your first year. Family membership start at only $7.46 per month. You can check out the link down in my description box below for more information. For this next meal, I am making a Thanksgiving dinner, or at least part of it. I'm not doing all of the sides that you would get on a Thanksgiving, but I'm doing sweet potato casserole. I'm making some cranberry sauce. I like to purchase turkeys whenever they are on sale. Our local Aldi actually carries organic turkeys, and they have them without any antibiotics or hormones, and during the Thanksgiving season they are on sale. So I always try to purchase several of them when they're on sale, and I stick them in the freezer, and then sometime in the winter we can enjoy a Thanksgiving meal. Again, my kids absolutely love turkey, sweet potato casserole, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, all the things, and so this is something that I try to make more than just on Thanksgiving Day. I used to be really intimidated by making turkeys, and then I realized it's honestly just like making a chicken. It's just a lot bigger, which works out really well because my family is now at the point that when I make a chicken, I have to make 2 whole chickens in order to fill us up. And so it's nice to have a turkey because it's so large, and usually we even have leftovers from this, and so I can dice that up and put it in the refrigerator for either turkey sandwiches or into a turkey soup or something later on in the week. I am making some homemade cranberry sauce because, in my opinion and a couple of my kids' opinions, you cannot have turkey without cranberry sauce. In fact, I was joking with my oldest son. He said at Thanksgiving there were so many things on the table, he missed the cranberry sauce. He couldn't fit it on his plate. And so I told him that I would make him turkey and cranberry sauce later on. And so I told him that this cranberry sauce was for him. And it's actually so simple to make. It has so many great ingredients. Cranberries are loaded with antioxidants. They're really good for you. And so this is just cranberries, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, some honey, and I also use the juice of a couple of oranges. Now, of course, since I was in the Thanksgiving mood, I could not go on with this meal without making a homemade pumpkin pie. So I am getting that going now. I'm using just some canned pumpkin because we already ate up all of the pumpkins that we had. And so I have a couple of cans of organic pumpkin in my pantry. So I'm using that with some eggs, a little bit of brown sugar, and some fresh cream. My daughter actually had some pie crust that she already had made in the refrigerator. So I just pulled that out and rolled it out and put it into my pie pan. This was a very simple addition to this meal and made it that much better because we had a really tasty dessert after we enjoyed our turkey. For my sweet potato casserole, I am making a topping with pecans, a little bit of melted butter, a little bit of brown sugar, and then I'm adding in some flour to thicken it, and I will just sprinkle that on top of my sweet potatoes whenever they are finished cooking. For this next meal, I am making a creamy wild rice chicken soup. I know you guys are probably sick of all the soups, but this is just really what we eat so much during the wintertime. All of my kids are actually pretty big fans of soup, and I think I've mentioned it on this channel before, but I'm also a fan of soup because for the cook, it's the easiest thing to clean up because you don't really need that many dishes to prepare it, and it's also the easiest meal to serve. There's no extra dipping sauces, there's nothing you have to cut up, you just scoop it out, put it in a bowl, and it's ready to go. Now, anytime I cut up a bunch of vegetables, I always save all of the peels to add into my bone broth. So I keep a bag of carrot peels, ends of celery, and all of that in a bag and just keep it in the freezer. And then when I pull out some bones to make bone broth, I'll just toss that in with a little bit of seasonings and a bay leaf, and that's how I make my bone broth. This recipe I actually got off my sister's blog, farmhouseonboone.com. You can just search wild rice soup and it will pop up for you. My family all really enjoyed this. My husband said it was one of his favorite soups he's ever had. And so if you are wanting to try a new hearty, yummy soup this winter, you guys will want to check this one out. For this last meal, I am making what I like to call my winter fast food, and that is just a pot of chili. Now for this particular one, I'm adding in some sweet potatoes. It's kind of inspired by like a pumpkin chili, but I had some sweet potatoes that were going to go bad, and so I diced those up and I'm sauteing them in my Dutch oven. And then the rest of it's just like normal chili. I'm adding in some onions and minced garlic, and then I'm going to use a couple pounds of venison meat. Then I have some cans of tomatoes and black beans. I like to keep organic tomatoes and organic chili beans, actually it's just the red kidney beans, on hand in my pantry, about 10 cans of each of those at all times, because this is a meal that I can so easily fall back on whenever I don't have anything planned, because it comes together very easily. Even if I don't have any meat defrost, you can obviously cook any ground meat from frozen. I just put it in the Dutch oven frozen and put the lid on, kind of let it steam up a little bit, break it up with my spatula, and then I can add in my canned goods that I have here already. And this makes such a simple, really great meal for the wintertime. So anytime I'm in a bind and I'm not sure what I'm going to make, I pretty much always fall back on chili. And on this particular day, I'm also going to be making some cornbread to go along with this. I don't always do this. My family definitely enjoys cornbread with chili. It just depends if I have enough time to make it and if I have all of the ingredients. I have the recipe for this cornbread and also my chili on my blog, so I will link that for you guys down below in the description box. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you got some new meal inspiration. Let me know down in the comments below if there's a meal on here that you want to try, or maybe if you have another favorite winter meal. I'm always looking for new ideas.